The New York Rangers have a very interesting young defenseman who may finally get his chance to be a pretty much everyday, full-time NHLer to begin this upcoming season 2024-2025, and his name is Zac Jones. So we're going to take a look at Zac Jones here, as well as kind of compare him to a guy like Erik Gustafsson, as he has pretty much taken the spot of Gus for this upcoming season, as he has left in free agency and I believe has signed a 2-year deal with the Detroit Red Wings with a $2 million cap hit. He's obviously going to a team who's trying to compete for a playoff spot, but now we have a guy in Zac Jones who I think should be a pretty good replacement and a kind of seamless fit there to take the spot of Gus and bring a lot of the same, characteristics and abilities and kind of play style there on the ice. I think they're very similar players. I mean, not the exact same type of player, but very, very similar in a lot of the aspects of their games. We're going to take a look at all that kind of stuff in this video here, kind of talk about whether or not it's an upgrade or a downgrade for Zac Jones, a young defenseman who's trying to kind of, crack a full-time role at the NHL level, whether he's going to be an upgrade or a downgrade compared to a guy like Erik Gustafsson, who's more of the veteran kind of guy. But like I said, both have very similar play styles. So starting off here, the Rangers will also save a bit of cap space as well with having a guy like Erik Gustafsson leaving free agency there, not sign him back, but just kind of let a guy like Zac Jones, who definitely has a lower cap hit, kind of take that spot, as Zac Jones does have a cap hit for this upcoming season at $812.5 thousand. So, just over $800,000. Compare that to a guy like Erik Gustafsson, who got that 2-year deal at $2 million per season. So that's almost $1.2 million more for this upcoming season, which, as we know right now, the Rangers don't have a ton of cap space there. So that $2 million or so that the Rangers are pretty much saving there is actually quite beneficial for this team, and completely covers a guy like Sam Carrick's contract as well. So that's quite valuable there to kind of also not only get that younger guy in here in Zac Jones, but have that cheaper guy as well, as he is still only 23 years old, turning 24 in October, and he is going to expire for the next offseason as a restricted free agent with arbitration eligibility. So that'll be interesting there. Obviously, a guy like Ryan Lindgren almost had that arbitration there. He almost went to the hearing there. They got things kind of sorted out before that. But my point is, obviously Zac is still going to be an RFA next offseason. So if he does have a great year, he's not going to just go into free agency where he could sign a pretty massive deal with any team. He'll still be locked up with Rangers, which is quite important. And, whether he does play good or not, no matter what, they still get possible to trade him at some point throughout this season or possibly in the next offseason, as well as he is an RFA still next offseason when he does expire after his contract finishes this upcoming season. And now we're going to take a look at Erik Gustafsson and Zac Jones there and kind of compare these two players there, their abilities, their characteristics, their play styles, and really kind of break that down and talk about what a guy like Zac Jones I think does better or possibly worse than a guy like Erik Gustafsson. So starting off here with the kind of size factor here, Erik is 6'1", 189 pounds, and Zac is only 5'10", 176 pounds. So decent bit of a difference there, obviously, in size. Erik is definitely a bigger player, but it's not like either of these guys are very physical, so that doesn't factor in a whole lot there. So I wouldn't be too worried about the size difference there. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue there on that third D pair, especially if a guy like Zac is playing alongside either Schneider or Trouba. They're both big and physical there, so that shouldn't be too big of a deal at all. And it's not like like I said, Erik is not some physical guy, so it's not like there's going to be a big downgrade in that sense either. And although they're not the most physical and tough players out there on the ice, they do block a decent amount of shots there and hit a fairly decent amount as well. So they're not too bad in that sense. They're both pretty even, block shots and hit-wise, so that's not too bad. And for the offensive game, they both are more offensive kind of defensemen there. Both great puck movers, good passing, good vision. I do think goal scoring wise, Erik Gustafsson is definitely a kind of, I would say, almost clear better defenseman. Goal scoring wise, but obviously for a defenseman there, that's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not like Gus is putting up, like 10 plus goals per season as a defenseman. I would say just right now, he's a bit better of a goal scorer, but playmaking wise, getting assists, creating offensive chances, they should be about the same there, fairly equal there. Offensive games, I don't think Gus is miles ahead. I mean, talent-wise, they're pretty much on par for each other. Obviously, a guy like Gus has a lot more experience at the NHL level, so maybe we don't see a guy like Zac put up as many points as a guy like Gus has, but I do think Zac is a guy who can, be that quarterback on the power play, here and there when they need him to. Be on that power play 2 unit there, be a kind of a good player on that PP2 unit. Jump into the PP1 if, a guy like Fox gets hurt like we saw a bit last year. Obviously Gus kind of jumped into the top power play unit, played pretty good there. So Can a guy like Zac do that? I think he probably could. He's a good offensive guy, can definitely quarterback a power play. So it could be that, PP2 kind of QB there. So we'll have to wait and see. But either way, offensively, passing wise, shooting wise, there's not a mass difference. Maybe shooting wise, there's a bit of a difference there, but everything else offensively, there's not much of a difference between Zac Jones and Erik Gustafsson. And neither player are great defensively. Like I said, both players are offensive defensemen. Defensively, I think Zac is probably a bit worse than a guy like Gus there. We'll have to wait and see, for a full time in the NHL, depending on who obviously Zac plays alongside as well. That will have an impact. But I think defensively right now, I would probably give the edge there to a guy like Gus, but not by a mile. It's not like Gus is a phenomenal defensive defenseman, as we saw for the playoff run there. It's not like he was great, and maybe we do see at the deadline there kind of a more defensive guy picked up to possibly take that spot of Zac come playoff time, potentially. Also have Chad Ruedel there as well, who is a bit of an undersized guy as well, kind of about the same size there as Zac, but definitely a lot worse offensively and definitely more of a kind of just defensive, solid puck-moving guy. So we'll have to wait and see kind of what happens there come playoff time. Obviously, a very, very long way ahead of that, but I just think Zac is a very interesting player there. He's only 23, turning 24 in October, but he's only played 69 games played at the NHL level, getting very inconsistent kind of ice time in the NHL, and also has played those 69 games played over 4 different seasons. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see kind of what he brings to this New York Rangers team, but I do think he could definitely possibly be an upgrade, or at least about as good as a guy like Erik Gustafsson for this upcoming season. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content as we get closer to this upcoming season, like I did so for the entire, last season there and a little bit before that as well. I was posting every single day, so I'll do so once again very, very soon, as well as don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on Erik Gustafsson being replaced by Zac Jones. What are your thoughts for Zac for this upcoming season? Do you think he's going to be good, bad? How many points do you think he's going to get? Who do you think he's going to play alongside? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.